Hey, welcome or welcome back. From pixelated, choppy and textured hallways to hyper-real battlefields, we're sprinting through 35 years of FPS headshots and gaming history. Strap in and grab your mouse or your favorite controller, this is the evolution of the first-person shooter. Before we get to the biggest PC and console hits, let's start at the lowly Amiga in 1990. Corporation was a pioneer in blending 3D exploration with RPG and stealth elements before the genre even had a name. You're a secret agent infiltrating the Universal Cybernetics building to expose illegal genetic experiments. And in 1990, that's all you ever needed to have fun. Many would consider 1991 to be the year when the first real FPS released, Catacomb 3D. It was made by John Carmack of id Software and introduced texture mapping, replacing flat colors with actual surfaces. You play as High Wizard using fireballs to blast through enemies and navigate a dark dungeon to defeat the evil Lich Nemesis. Wolfenstein 3D is the true grandfather of FPS that defined the fast-paced, action-packed grid-based movement of the era. You're BJ Blazkowicz escaping a castle to take down the Third Reich and eventually even Mecha Hitler, which you may know now better from Cards Against Humanity. Oh. Released in the same year, The Terminator 2029 by Bethesda, despite never reaching same heights of popularity, looked years ahead of Wolfenstein. It was one of the first shooters to feature a non-linear mission-based structure in a 3D space. As a human-resistant soldier, you're sent into the ruins of LA to destroy the Skynet's central core. If Wolfenstein defined the genre, Doom laid the groundwork, the blueprint if you will, for what it would become for years to come. It introduced non-orthogonal walls, varying floor heights and complex lighting, setting the gold standard for level design. You're a lone space marine on Mars fighting off a literal invasion from hell after a teleportation experiment fails. Blackstone Aliens of Gold was a victim of bad timing, releasing just a week before Doom. It was also a bearer of a fantastic name, and that's not nothing. It featured interactive NPCs, food dispensers, and textured ceilings and floors. You're an agent Blackstone infiltrating a space station to stop the mad scientist Dr. Goldfire from conquering Earth. Talking about name that sounds like a James Bond villain. In my eyes, System Shock is hands down the best FPS game of 1994, while not being an FPS at all. It's a dark sci-fi RPG that chose the viewpoint for its combat and exploration. It pioneered environmental storytelling and emergent gameplay via an inventory system and logs. You're a hacker on Citadel Station, playing a deadly game of cat and mouse with rogue AI, Shodan. Easily one of the best villains in video game history. Heretic was the first game using the Doom engine to allow players to look up and down and introduced persistent inventory. As a Sighty elf, you're on a quest to hunt down the Free Serpent raiders who corrupted your world. And since you're you, so a super cool dude or dudette, you're definitely not going to leave the evil deeds unpunished. I'm a firm believer that Doom to Hell on Earth was a hell of an upgrade, updating already pretty sweet shotgun into super shotgun and introducing more complex vertical maps. So no complaints here, but still just an upgrade. Its plot is simple too. Hell has invaded Earth and you're the only one to stop it. Known for its jump pads, dual-wielding pistols and the first use of God mode as an in-game power-up, Rise of the Triad was a fantastic, even if a bit underappreciated and chaotic shooter from 1994. You control a member of the Hunt Squad, infiltrating an island to stop a cult from nuking LA. While Jaguar's Alien vs Predator is not my favorite game bearing the name, it was still a technical marvel for the system, featuring 3 distinct playstyles and high-resolution sprites. You play as a Marine, Alien or Predator, each with their own campaign set on a colonial Marine base. In 1995, Dark Forces brought Star Wars to life in an FPS that in my eyes was better than Doom. Go ahead, destroy me in the comments. It added ability to jump and crouch, plus multi-layered maps and a fantastic Star Wars theme. You're Kyle Katarn, a mercenary investigating the Empire's new Dark Trooper project. And yes, when I say investigating, I mean sabotaging. Hexen is a fantasy-themed sequel to Heretic that introduced a hub system where actions in one level affected another. Now that's innovation. You choose between 3 classes, Fighter, Cleric or Mage, to defeat the second Serpent Rider, Korax. Descent is not your typical walking first-person shooter. It pioneered 6 degrees of freedom, allowing players to rotate and fly in any direction in a fully 3D environment, which might have been initially confusing, but when you did get used to it, oh boy, was it fun. You're a pilot tasked with clearing virus-infected mining robots out of various solar system colonies. So you know, fun. I'd risk saying that Quake is arguably the single most important FPS game in the history of the genre, not only solidifying its main characteristics, but also bringing it into real full 3D. Everything got the touch of that magical third dimension, from models for enemies and weapons to environments, additionally cementing the mouse look we take for granted today as the standard. You're a soldier jumping through slipgates to stop the eldritch horror codenamed Quake. Duke Nukem 3D pushed Ken Silverman's build engine to its absolute limits with highly interactive environments, amazing story scripting and pop culture humor. It also popularized one-liners, chewing gum and kicking ass, all while serving amazing multiplayer experience. Duke returns to Earth to find aliens abducting women, so he starts a one-man war to take the planet back. One babe at a time.
Come get some.
Strafe is a rare FPS RPG hybrid set in a dark dystopian far-off future featuring dialogue trees, stealth, fantastic combat and an open hub world. You're a mercenary joining the Front, a resistance group fighting against a religious, despotic dictatorship called the Order. Along Quake, Terminator Future Shock was one of the very first games to implement mouse look. It may sound like nothing, but trust me, in 1996 it was far from being a standard, and in most games you aim by turning more or less in a generic direction of your target. You play as a resistance fighter navigating the post-apocalyptic ruins of LA to prevent Skynet from completing a time travel project. GoldenEye 007, the game that single-handedly proved that not only FPS game could thrive on consoles, but also work flawlessly in multiplayer. It featured objective-based missions and 4-player split screen. Both very new features, first on consoles, second everywhere. You follow the plot of the film as James Bond trying to stop a rogue agent from using a satellite weapon. Quake 2 moved away from dark gothic horror to a gritty, mission-based sci-fi war story against an evil alien race of Stroke. You're a marine named Bitterman dropped onto the Stroke home planet to end their threat, one corpse at a time.
Computer update. Computer updated.
1997 brought us a whole slew of games using the build engine, and one of the most prominent ones was Blood. It had an amazing theme of revenge, bloody gameplay and highly creative occult-themed weapons like the voodoo doll and flare gun. You're Caleb, an undead gunslinger that rises from the grave to seek revenge against the dark god Chernobog. Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 is a worthy successor to the first game that brought 3D lightsaber combat and force powers to the genre with branching light and dark side paths. Cal Katarn must learn the ancient ways of the Jedi to stop the Dark Jedi Jarek. Famous for its massive boss battles and fog of war that become iconic on the N64, Turok Dinosaur Hunter puts you in the shoes of Turok, a warrior protecting the barrier between the Earth and the Lost Land from an evil campaigner who is seeking for an artifact capable of destroying it. Half-Life revolutionized how stories in FPS games are told. It perfected shooter narrative by presenting its plot through players' eyes without cutscenes, keeping in the experience from start to finish with no interruptions. You're scientist Gordon Freeman trying to survive the Black Mesa incident after a portal to Zen opens during an experiment and lets a whole army of weird creatures in. Known for its incredible Unreal Engine visuals and expansive atmospheric outdoor environments, Unreal was a premier new shooter from 1998. You're a prisoner on a crashed ship who must survive a hostile flora and fauna and scourge warriors on the planet Napali. Upon its release, Rainbow Six turned the world of FPSs upside down. It shifted the genre toward tactical realism, where one bullet is nearly always lethal, and missions start with a planning phase because going all in guns blazing is only a recipe for quick failure. In Rainbow Six, you lead an elite anti-terrorist unit through global missions involving biological weapons and hostages. 1999 was the year of arena shooters, and Quake 2 Arena was one of two big releases in the subgenre. It famously ditched the single-player campaign entirely to focus only on high-speed arena combat. It defined the blueprint for arena shooters for years to come and is still played in modernized form to this very day. The other, equally as big arena shooter of the year was Unreal Tournament. It introduced iconic multiplayer modes like Facing Walls and Assault, and lore-wise it was supposed to be a televised futuristic bloodsport used to vent the violent frustrations of a galaxy-spanning mining company. I bet you didn't know that. And we're once again talking about one of the best FPS RPG hybrids, System Shock 2. It's a terrifying blend of RPG, horror and shooting that influenced the modern immersive sim more than anything else. You wake up on a starship where the crew has been mutated by a hive mind called the Money, forced to work with the AI Shodan to survive. Or so it seems. Medal of Honor was created from a concept by Steven Spielberg, and it not only kickstarted the modern World War II FPS subgenre, but also brought a cinematic flair and quality to it. You're Lieutenant Jimmy Patterson, working with the OSS to complete sabotage and rescue missions in Nazi-occupied Europe. Kingpin Life of Crime was well known for its gritty urban setting and tag recruit system, but what it actually pioneered was region-based damage, so different parts of the body reacted differently to shots or attacks, and weapon skills, where constant use of a particular weapon improved your accuracy with it. You're a low-level hoodlum on a revenge quest to take down the Kingpin and rule the streets of a fictional Art Deco city. Oh my god, how does one even explain a game like Deus Ex in just a couple of sentences? It was a true, modern and pioneer RPG FPS experience, offering unprecedented at the time choice. Every mission could be handled by stealth, hacking or combat, and end with a different outcome. You're JC Denton, an augmented agent uncovering a global conspiracy involving the Plague and the Illuminati. Famous for its ghoul engine, Soldier of Fortune allowed for highly detailed location-based damage and gore. You're a mercenary John Mellins hunting down stolen nuclear weapons across various global hotspots.
Already, John? We can't keep the main delegation waiting.
Perfect Dark may have been an entirely different thematically game, but spiritually it was a successor to N64's earlier GoldenEye, featuring advanced lighting, secondary fire modes and combat bots. Joanna Dark uncovers a conspiracy involving an extraterrestrial war between two alien races.
Nervous?
Very. I've waited for this moment for so many years. Contact. Friendly contact between humans and Mayans is what the Institute was founded for. In a few minutes, we'll be at the White House.
No One Lives Forever is fantastic. It's a stylish, humorous spy shooter that parodied the 1960s espionage genre. You're Kate Archer, an agent for Unity trying to stop the global terrorist organization known as HARM. If you like a little dose of intelligent fun in your shooters, there's no better game.
Mr. Volkov said the girl will be apprehensive about this apprehension.
Will expose a shaft that leads to the primary fusion drive core.
In 2001, Halo Combat Evolved changed the world. It revolutionized console shooters with its two-weapon limit, regenerating energy shields, vehicle integration, and explosive, super fun multiplayer. You're the Master Chief, crash landing on a mysterious ring world and fighting a religious alien alliance called the Covenant. Return to Castle Wolfenstein is a reboot of the classic that successfully blended action-packed combat with supernatural horror. Vijay Blazkowicz is back, investigating the Nazi Paranormal Division's attempts to resurrect an ancient warrior king. Sounds silly? It is, but it's also fun. Red Faction's biggest claim to fame, other than its interesting backstory, is that it introduced the Geomod engine, allowing players to destroy terrain and buildings to create new paths. And something like that was not a thing in such a natural way before, and it blew all of our collective minds. You're Parker, a miner on Mars leading a revolution against the oppressive Ultor Corporation. Metroid Prime was famous for successfully transitioning a game from 2D side-view series to 3D, focusing on exploration and the scan visor mechanic. Samus Aran investigates a derelict space station in the ruins of Talon 4 to stop the spread of Phazon. Battlefield 1942 took the standard FPS formula and redefined it, nay, remolded into the Combined Arms subgenre, featuring 64 players, pilotable ships, planes and tanks, and more realistic shooting action than you could ever hope for. You fight across the major theaters of World War II, from the beaches of Normandy to the Pacific Islands. The first entry in now ungodly long-running series of Call of Duty moved away from the lone wolf hero, focusing on the chaos of being one soldier in a massive squad. You play through 3 campaigns, so American, British and Soviet, across major World War II battles. '13 was not notable for introduction of any particular mechanics or gameplay evolution, but for its unique cel-shaded graphics and visual cues, like BAM or POW appearing appropriately to the action on the screen. It was a style over substance kind of a game, but fortunately it played pretty well too. You're an amnesiac man accused of killing the president, trying to solve the mystery of your identity and a big conspiracy. What first Half-Life did, second expanded and built upon. It also revolutionized physics-based gameplay with the gravity gun and realistic facial animations. Gordon Freeman returns years after Black Mesa incident to lead the resistance against the Combine who enslaved Earth. There are as many people that love as there are that hate Doom 3, all because it's a massive departure for the series, focusing on slow burn survival horror and advanced stencil shadow lighting. Its flashlight or the gun mechanic brings horror to dreams of many gamers to this very day. It proved that id Software was still on the forefront of technological innovation. You're a marine on Mars during a demonic outbreak, navigating the dark to stop the hell from reaching Earth. Far Cry was beautiful, man. It introduced massive, lush outdoor environments and advanced AI that could flank and hunt the player. You're Jack Carver, stranded on a tropical archipelago while trying to rescue a journalist from a mad scientist's experiments. Halo 2 redefined online console multiplayer via Xbox Live and featured a controversial dual-protagonist story. The war for Earth begins while the Covenant elite Arbiter discovers the true suicidal purpose of the Halo rings. The release of Painkiller marks a return to the idea of high-speed slaughter shooters of the 90s, featuring massive bosses and unique stake gun. You're Daniel Lamb, stuck in purgatory and forced to slay the generals of Lucifer to be reunited with your wife. Fear was renowned for its incredibly advanced enemy AI and slow-mo combat mixed with Japanese-style horror elements. You're a point man in a paranormal task force hunting down a psychotic commander and a girl named Alma. Perfect Dark Zero was a prequel to the original, and it showcased early high-definition textures and large-scale multiplayer for the Xbox 360. You follow a younger Joanna Dark, who is at the time a bounty hunter, and she uncovers a corporate conspiracy involving ancient technology.
Guys, area clear. Let's move. Hands up. You're not too late. Down now. Room clear.
SWAT 4 was the peak of tactical police shooters, where players are rewarded for non-lethal arrests over kills, which means that it aimed to minimize the shooting part in the first-person shooter. How ironic. You lead a 5-man team through realistic scenarios like high-tech raids and hostage rescues.
Civilian is safe, secure, and ready for evac.
Get her open and clear it.
Standing by.
Let's move. Put your hand in the
Suspect.
air.
Suspect neutralized.
Fields,
Reynolds,
it's clear.
nice and clear.
It's clear.
I got it.
Prey used gravity-flipping mechanics and portals a year before Portal was released. Now, Portal was not a shooter, but it had to be mentioned as it's an icon of first-person gaming. And that's how I decided to do it. In Prey you play as Tommy, a Cherokee mechanic abducted by a massive living spaceship. So you have to use your ancestral spiritual powers to save your family. Call of Juarez is one of the first notable Western-themed FPS to alternate between two protagonists with distinct playstyles. You could play as two different characters with opposing stories, Billy, who focused on stealth, and Reverend Ray, who was all about brute force. The plot follows their clashing paths as Ray hunts Billy for a crime he didn't commit. Call of Duty for Modern Warfare, to stay true to its name, took a bold step and shifted the industry toward modern and not historical setting and introduced the HP and Perk multiplayer system. You follow Soap McTavish and Captain Price as they hunt a Russian ultranationalist across the globe, or you play it online, same as everyone else did.
Our UAV is online.
The big question of 2007 that everyone asked was, can it run Crysis? Actually, it was the big question for quite a few years after too. It was, after all, the ultimate graphical benchmark for a decade, featuring high-agency gameplay via the sci-fi-inspired nanosuit. You're Jake Dunn, sent to remote Pacific tropical island to investigate a strange alien meteor that's freezing the jungle. BioShock is part shooter and part something else. A philosophical immersive sim perhaps. It's set in the underwater ruins of Rapture, a paradise of free will built in the alternate 1940s. It mixes gunplay with plasmids, so in-game's lore superpowers. You're Jack, a plane crash survivor who must choose between saving or harvesting the city's children. Team Fortress 2 traded realism for a timeless stylized look and perfected class-based objective gameplay. There is no main campaign because it's a multiplayer game through and through, but the lore involves a never-ending war between two brothers, Red and Blue. Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl was truly unique. It was set in an alternate timeline and offered a bleak open world where the so-called zone felt surprisingly alive, being inhabited by mutated animals, bandits and mysterious anomalies. You play as an unnamed Amizak Stalker, a scavenger of the zone, tasked with finding and killing of the individual known only as Strelok. Left 4 Dead revolutionized 4-player co-op with its AI director, which dynamically changed the game based on your performance. You and 3 other survivors must fight through hordes of infected to reach various extraction points. Far Cry 2 was famous for its hardcore realism, including malaria management, weapon jamming and spreading fire. You're a mercenary in a war-torn African nation tasked with assassinating an arms dealer known as the Jackal. Battlefield Bad Company introduced large-scale environmental destruction by the Frostbite engine, which may have not been a novelty in gaming by then, but definitely was in realism-based shooters. You follow a group of misfit soldiers who go AWOL to find a cache of gold behind the enemy lines. Or you don't, as it's all about multiplayer, same as with all Battlefield games. Borderlands was a novelty. It successfully fused FPS combat with Diablo-style looting, creating the offshoot of the genre, the so-called looter-shooter, which funny enough is fine and dandy to this very day. You're a vault hunter on planet Pandora, searching for the legendary cache of alien technology and riches. PlayStation 3's Killzone 2 was the biggest exclusive FPS on the platform, and it was known for its heavy movement and some of the most impressive lighting and particles of the generation. You're Seth, part of an ISA invasion of the planet Helgan to capture the dictator Scholar Visari.
Copy that, Alpha. Be advised, reinforcements are inbound. Repeat, reinforcements on their way. Copy that.
Metro 2033 is a highly atmospheric post-apocalyptic shooter. It used bullets as currency and required a constant gas mask management when outside. You're Artyom, traveling through the post-apocalyptic Moscow subway to save your home station from mysterious Dark Ones.
Artyom, ich muss ihn zur Polis bringen. Du musst die Karte...
Call of Duty Black Ops introduced a mind-bending Cold War conspiracy plot, the iconic Nuketown map and zombie co-op mode. And these are the reasons why it's in this video, as other than being a prolific multiplayer shooter for a short while, Black Ops' input to the genre was rather minimal. You're Alex Mason, being interrogated for the memories of the numbers while reliving missions from the 1960s. Now, Fallout New Vegas is not a shooter. It's a fantastic, one-of-a-kind, incredible deep multi-layered role-playing adventure that I wholeheartedly recommend anyone go through at least 2 or 3 times to see all the possible outcomes to all quests you may encounter. It's also presented to us in an FPS fashion, so it landed on this list. So, the game starts in a rather unusual way. You're shot in the head and buried. You are naturally rescued and healed moments later, but it's not a game where you're a hero to save the wasteland. You're a nameless protagonist who can go after his killers, but ultimately doesn't have to. And that's the beauty of New Vegas. Battlefield 3 pushed its Frostbite 2 engine to the absolute limit, offering incredible sound design and large-scale 60-player combat on PC. The single-player campaigns follow the Marines' interrogation regarding a nuclear threat in the Middle East. But you don't really care about that, do you? It's all about multiplayer anyway. .2011's Rage featured ID Software's megatexture tech, which resulted in incredibly smooth gunplay even on consoles with rather limited memory pool, because it was created predominantly with consoles in mind. It is set years after an asteroid destroyed life on Earth, and you wake up from a cryopod in a wasteland fighting against an oppressive group called the Authority. Bulletstorm was all about skill shots. So creative wave to kill enemies using a leash, a kick and environmental hazards. You're Grayson Hunt, a space pirate looking for revenge against his former commander on a mutant-filled planet. And believe you me, you will have your revenge. Far Cry 3's most important input in the history of the genre is that it defined what I like to call a modern Ubisoft open-world formula of outposts and towers. And no, it's not a compliment. But it also gave us the iconic villain Vaz, so there's that at least. You're Jason Brody, a tourist forced to become a warrior to save his friends from modern pirates. Dishonored is a first-person stealth masterpiece with role-playing elements that let you play your way with a mix of gadgets and supernatural powers. It's set in an alternate reality steampunk world, and you're Corva Atano, the Empress's bodyguard framed for her murder, seeking revenge in a plague-ridden city. Borderlands 2 improved every aspect of the first game and introduced a legendary villain, Handsome Jack. And yes, that's its entire input in the genre's evolution. A new group of Vault Hunters must stop Jack from opening a vault and destroying Pandora. The planet just never seems to get a break. Battlefield 4 was famous for evolution. Massive map-altering events like a skyscraper falling or a dam breaking in real time. You're a part of a special ops squad caught in a fictional conflict between the US, Russia and China, but you don't care, as all you really do is play Battlefield 4 online. Shadow Warrior is a reboot that focused on high-speed swordplay mixed with over-the-top gunplay and crude humor. And I have to say that I kinda sorta like it more than the original. Go ahead, let me know how wrong I am in the comments. You're Lo Wang, a mercenary who accidentally triggers a demonic invasion while searching for a legendary sword. So now you have to clean after yourself. Titanfall was low-key visionary. It introduced elite mobility, so wall running and double jumping alongside massive pilotable mechs, making all of our childhood dreams come true. It was a multiplayer-only war between the IMC and Frontier Militia, and it was a blast.
Transferring control to pilot.
Alien Isolation is a survival horror FPS, which I would gladly rebrand into SFP NRAS, so stealth first-person, not really a shooter, in which you spend most of your time hiding from a single, nigh unkillable xenomorph. You're a Amanda Ripley searching for clues about your mother on a decaying space station. Destiny is Bungie's shell-wall shooter that combines tight gunplay with MMO-like progression and loot. You're a guardian resurrected by a ghost to protect Earth's last city from the forces of darkness, which is so funny if you keep in mind how many people actually played the game.
Hey, whoa, careful, it's getting set up. Look out! Whoa! I got these guys. Okay. Another fire team coming in.
Wolfenstein: The New Order proved that a single-player story-heavy shooter could still be a massive hit and didn't have to place all its bets on multiplayer action. BJ Blazkowicz wakes up in the 1960s where the Nazis won the war, so he joins a resistance group to take them down.
Time to go, Captain. Let's get out of here together.
1, 2, 3.
Rainbow Six Siege focused on environmental destruction and operators with unique gadgets for a tactical 5v5 combat. It became one of the most successful tactical shooters in the history through its live service model, and it's one of the games I always theoretically wanted to try out but never found will to play over other games.
Come on. All right, watch out. I'm moving around.
You can't.
Dying Light perfectly blended first-person parkour with zombie survival and a terrifying day-night cycle. And it's bloody good. You're Kyle Crane, an undercover agent sent into a quarantined city overrun by a viral outbreak. Your mission starts as an assassination but ends with you helping the survivors. Killing Floor 2 is the undisputed king of wave-based co-op, featuring incredible gun feel and mid-gore system. You and your friends survive waves of Zeds created by a botched corporate science experiment. Or as I like to call it, you have fun creating increasingly insane numbers of bodies all around.
When you're done, I can reopen the trader pod.
Watch out, Zeds!
Unlike the earlier mentioned Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4 is not an RPG at all. It's a first-person shooter set in the world of Fallout, and as the shooting mechanics go, it's the best in the series. The setting of post-apo Boston is the star here, and that's why it gets a mention. You're the sole survivor of Vault 111, searching for your kidnapped son in the ruins of the city and surrounding areas.
Hey, up here, on the balcony. I've got a group of settlers inside. The raiders are...
Star Wars Battlefront captured the look and sound of the films perfectly, offering massive 40-player battles. Yes, there is a single-player component in which you fight across iconic planets like Hoth and Endor in the greatest hits tour of the original trilogy, but all of us played it for the multiplayer and multiplayer alone.
Activated the uplink station. We must shut it down. Incoming orbital.
Hell yeah! Doom 2016, aka Doom, is a fantastic proof that shooters with a strong action and gore-packed single-player mayhem not only can still be fun, but also successful. And id Software made sure that it was a statement heard by all gamers. I can't recommend it in its glorious return to push-forward combat enough, or its introduction of glory kills to keep the momentum high. It's a gem. The Doomslayer wakes up on Mars and proceeds to tear through the forces of hell to stop a corporate cult.
I am moving the payload. Fall in with me.
Overwatch is the game that made the hero shooter a global phenomenon with its colorful cast and objective-based team play. The plot, as insignificant as it is in an online-only game, follows a disbanded international task force reuniting to save a world in crisis.
Teleporter located.
Superhot is a banger, and I should end it here really. But I won't. It's a unique puzzle shooter where time only moves when you do, making you feel like an action movie star. You're a player inside a mysterious simulation fighting off red, glass-like enemies. Sounds silly, I know, but hardly anything is as addictive.
Look out! Machine gun! That's an enemy.
Battlefield 1 took the series back to World War I, featuring bayonet charges, horses and massive behemoth vehicles. The War Stories campaign follows several different soldiers across a global conflict, but as with all other Battlefield games, it's something you'll see once and then never again, as it's a game that you play for its multiplayer.
Scout! You see it! Spotted scout!
While Titanfall 2 is a multiplayer first and foremost title, it's also often called a perfect FPS campaign for its creative level design and the bond between the pilot and his Titan. So yeah, the devs didn't overlook some of us non-online gamers. Cooper and BT-727 must stop the IMC from using a world-ending weapon. And that's the story.
Hostile Titan spotted!
Prey from 2017 blends exploration, problem-solving and open-ended combat, offering multiple ways to approach challenges with its interconnected environments. It's a first-person immersive sim set aboard the space station Talos 1, where you play as Morgan Yu, trying to survive and uncover the truth after an alien species called the Typhoon overruns the facility. Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, took the story to fictional Nazi-occupied America, featuring some of the wildest and most emotional moments in the series. BJ Blazkowicz leads the revolution to liberate the US from German control, and does so with his iconic style.
Was für eine Gesellschaft wäre das, wenn ich jeden töten würde, der meine Ansicht nicht teilt? Ein Kriegsgebiet, Karl. Das wäre ein Kriegsgebiet. Zum Kotzen. Gebracht, ja. In Ordnung. Übrigens hast du dich für New Orleans beworben. Na klar. Und du? Okay.
Call of Duty Black Ops 4 was the first Call of Duty to drop the campaign entirely in favor of the Blackout Battle Royale mode, which I would hardly call an evolution, but in a way, it sadly kinda was. It focused heavily on specialized hero-like characters and refined multiplayer gunplay.
We pulled ahead.
Battlefield 5 brought the series back to World War II with a focus on squad play and fortifications. The campaign again used the war stories format to highlight lesser-known perspectives of the war. Far Cry 5 brought the chaos to America, featuring an open world in which you could tackle enemies and objectives in nearly any order. You're a deputy trying to take down a doomsday cult led by Joseph Seed in Montana. Apex Legends, a surprise launch multiplayer-only battle royale that introduced a ping system and legendary movement mechanics. Characters from the Titanfall universe compete in a televised blood sport for glory and fame, and it's actually kinda bloody fantastic.
Guess what? They brought us the Sacred Vault map! If that doesn't earn them a special place in the family...
Borderlands 3 brought sliding and mantling to the series, making the gunplay feel faster, more modern and much more fun. 4 new Vault Hunters travel to multiple planets to stop the Calypso's twins from taking over, while the series' staple characters return into supporting roles.
And family is forever. We'll start the ceremony after a few quick shout-outs. Stay bloodthirsty!
Better go hunt, find some food, make sure you'll reach that way.
Metro Exodus was a huge evolution to its own series. It moved into a massive open-hub sandbox levels across entire Russia. Artyom and his crew travel on a train called Aurora to find a habitable place to live in the destroyed, frozen post-apocalyptic landscape. Rage 2 is a collaboration between id Software and Avalanche Studios, mixing incredible shooting with an open-world wasteland. You're the last ranger, Walker, trying to survive in the world filled with colorful, crazy, murderous gangs. Doom Eternal turned the 2016 resurrected Doom dance into a high-speed combat puzzle where you have to manage resources constantly. Sounds complicated, but it's the same cool high-octane action as its predecessor, only more and better. The Slayer returns to Earth to stop the Khan Maykir from sacrificing humanity to save her own world. Half-Life Alyx set the gold standard for VR shooters, showing that a full-length high-budget Half-Life game is not only possible, but also that VR games can be full-fledged and not only superficial experiences. You play as Alyx Vance years before Gordon's return, fighting to steal a combined super weapon. Valorant is the de facto tactical hero shooter that mixed Counter-Strike precision with Overwatch abilities. It's set in a near-future Earth where radiant individuals fight over a mysterious substance called Radianite, which is meaningless because it's also an online-only game.
Reloading. Here.
At launch, Cyberpunk 2077 sucked for many of gamers, especially on the consoles. But after years of fixes, updates and DLCs, it's a fantastic, massive RPG that plays like a high-octane FPS featuring deep cybernetic customization and captivating, touching story. You're V, a mercenary in Night City with a digital ghost of Johnny Silverhand stuck in your head, and a timer ticking down till you die. Plagued by countless issues and development troubles, Halo Infinite took the Master Chief to an open-world Zeta Halo, bringing back the classic art style and feel. Chief is searching for the weapon and fighting the Banished to prevent them from activating the ring. In reality, just another Halo, so another online shooter.
Is there no one else?
Far Cry 6 featured a massive urban city and a Supremo backpack weapons to spice up the guerrilla warfare. You're Dani Rojas, a revolutionary fighting to overthrow the dictator of the island nation of Yara. Warhammer 40k Darktide is a co-op horde shooter that perfectly blended visceral melee with heavy-hitting gunplay. You're a group of rejects fighting to save the hive city of Tetrium from a Nurgle-worshipping cult. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is a Borderlands spin-off that leaned fully into D&D fantasy theme, adding spells and character classes to the traditional shooter-looter formula. You're the Fate Maker playing a tabletop game narrated by Tiny Tina herself. Fun. Atomic Heart is a visually stunning Soviet punk shooter with a focus on melee and elemental glove powers. you're Agent P3 sent to Facility 3826 to stop a robot uprising in an alternate history USSR.
Fucking Tin Man!
Some of us didn't care, while others waited for it for years. System Shock Remake. It's a faithful update of the 1994 classic that proved that the original's design was still brilliant decades later and just needed a fresh coat of paint. You're the hacker again, navigating Citadel Station to stop evil AI Shodan's God Complex.
Eyes on hostile Simtex!
Losing A.
I'm honestly tired with all the online shooters by now, even if they genuinely innovate like the Call of Duty Black Ops 6. This game revolutionized FPS movement with the Omni movement system, allowing for omnidirectional sprinting, sliding and diving. Set in the 1990s, a rogue team must uncover a shadowy conspiracy within the CIA.
Simtex, front! Stun inbound!
Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is a visual masterpiece using Unreal Engine 5 and bringing the series' survival horror to the modern era. You're Skiff, navigating the dangerous anomalies and factions of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Not many, if any, games ever had as troubled development given what's happening in the country of its creators. Battlefield 6 is a truly massive return to the modern-day setting that focused on large-scale environmental destruction and a back-to-basics design. You're a part of a NATO force trying to stop a private military company from destabilizing the world. Or, as you're no doubt used to by now, you just play it online.
Need a medic! You're a lifesaver!
Borderlands 4 may not run great on weaker systems, but boy oh boy is it a fun addition to its series. It takes the looter shooter to a brand new star system, refining the mobility and weapon variety for a brand new adventure. Our heroes race against a new intergalactic threat to unlock the secret of the hidden Vault Heart. Doom: The Dark Ages is a fantastic, brutal, medieval-inspired prequel that introduced a shield saw and a dragon's teeth to the Slayer's arsenal. And yes, of course it remade the gameplay formula of the series once again, and freaking aced it. It tells the origin story of how the Slayer became the legendary warrior of the Night Sentinels, and you're going to love it. From pixelated sprites to the dark ages of Doom, it's been one hell of a ride through over 100 games evolution of the FPS genre. Which of these legends is your all-time favorite? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, hit those like, sub, bell and hype buttons below, it helps more than you know. Thanks a lot for watching, take care of yourself and I'll talk to you soon.